Okay, settle down, settle down. I know, week one, they said they wanted more drama. How do we do that? Spend less time in the pods is a common complaint. Yeah, but how much will that cost us? Okay, let's do the math. Wait, what? Just let Dave be Dave. Really? It's that simple? Okay, easy enough. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real recap and review for Season 8 of Love is Blind, Minnesota. I know, not the most exciting place in the world, but we're getting into Week 2, which is episodes 7 through 9. Now, if you missed it, my recap and review for episodes 1 through 6, which is Week 1, is live right now. And I wasn't really joking in the intro here. It was pretty boring. We spent way too much time in the pods, but at least in Week 2, oh my gosh, they listened to us because, yeah, there's drama among our couples, and it's actually kind of exciting because we go to Honduras. Well, barely, but some of the most exciting stuff happens in Minneapolis, and that's shocking to me. And of course, I'm going to be covering Week 3, which is episodes 10 through 11, and the week after that, which is the finale, with our weddings in episode 12. And one thing I want to mention is that you guys enjoy the fact that I brought up the Chicago Mass Choir and gospel music in Week 1. I'm going to give you all another classic. Jesus is on the Main Line by it's probably a classic. It's by a lot of artists. But y'all know how it goes. You know, Jesus is on the main line. You gotta tell him what you want. And what I want from you is to subscribe to the channel right now. Tap on that bell, like this video, and get loud in the comments because we're gonna get into basically my spoiler-free thoughts and then my spoiler-filled recap and review. And I'm so excited to do all that with you guys this week, next week, and every week that Season 8 goes on for. Because, listen, the reunion might not be too messy. Or actually, after Week 2, it might. Alrighty, y'all, so let's get into my spoiler-free thoughts, and we're gonna talk about, well, what I sort of mentioned earlier, which is the fact that Week 2 is much better than Week 1 of Season 8. Now, granted, when we do get to Honduras, which is very early on in Episode 7, it's not very exciting. I mean, it's okay, it's better than the pod moments, but I'm gonna be honest, that is the weakest part of Week 2. It's funny, usually going on vacation with our contestants is actually really exciting, but that's not the case. They really are from Minnesota because they don't really know how to vacation in a weird sense. We do learn a lot about our couples in a weird way, especially with Joey, I believe it is, or maybe that's when he's back home. But regardless, Minneapolis, when you take them and put them into Honduras, they don't know really how to vacation. But at least after the midway point of episode 7, or at least at the beginning of episode 8, you start to get a very exciting Week 2. And that's really due to the fact that they clearly define roles for our couples. Finally, you have Joey and Monica. They are safe. They're going to be the, maybe the golden couple, I probably not, but they are going to be the safest couple for this season. Then you have Dave and Lauren, and they're the dramatic couple. So all the moments with them this week are very dramatic. And then you have Daniel and Taylor. I'll be honest, they probably are the golden couple for this season. I don't necessarily think I can say that. Oh, I can't say that either. I gotta wait for the spoiler-filled recap. And then you have Ben and Sara. They are the ticking time bomb couple. I can explain. Then you have Devin and Virginia. I still don't know couple because I don't know, y'all. But on the technical side of things, the music is back to being completely tragic. Week 1 had at least a few licensed songs that work, right? Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish, I'm Yours by Jason Mraz, and Holy by Justin Bieber. In Week 2, we do get Casey and JoJo, a classic. But other than that, all these songs are just like Forky from Toy Story 4. Trash. Because my goodness, these songs they're so rough and grating to my ears. But you know what? Props to the artist for getting their songs on a show like this, because at least it's exposure. And one of my last notes here for the spoiler-free recap is the fact that there's no real editing issues that I spotted. And that's an improvement over Week 1, because like we mentioned, there was some choppy editing, the pacing was a little rough, and I found it weird when it came to some of the different cuts, how the out-of-orderness of it all really affected my immersion for certain scenes. But you know, at least in Week 2, the pacing seemed better, and I think this is proving our point, you guys, which is less is more. 6 episodes in 1 week, that's over 6 hours, more than 6 hours of TV. And it didn't really lead anywhere. But with week 2, 3 episodes, about an hour each, and at least you're going somewhere, it actually is moving along. So week 2, overall, yes, it is better than week 1. But why? And now is where we're going to get into the specifics. So spoiler warning for y'all. If you have not watched week 2 of Love is Blind Season 8, go ahead, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, like this video, save it to your watch later list, and come back and let me know in the comments what you think of week 2 in its entirety. So it's time, y'all, for my spoiler-filled recap, and we're going to begin with the cliffhanger moment from week 1, which is the 24 hours later moment with Daniel and Taylor. We're back inside of the empty breakfast hall at the hotel, and trust me, the producers were telling everyone, no one eats any eggs if we have something to say about it, especially not in this economy. Moving on. Daniel says he would have told production if he remembered following her on social media, because remember, Taylor was hung up on the fact that Daniel might have followed me before the pods. Now, Taylor claims she has a followers app that will tell her exactly what she needs to know. And Daniel then says, oh, okay, listen. Maybe it is possible I followed you in the past, but I'm unsure. I might have unfollowed you and then, I don't know, and it escaped my memory. We're in Minneapolis. It's a small town. And then a producer comes out of nowhere and whispers to Taylor, hey, psst, Taylor, we're willing to give you your phone back. You want to do it? And of course, Taylor obliges. So she takes the phone, opens the follower app, and then, of course, she asks the question, is there Wi-Fi? Girl, if you don't use your 5G LTE to just get this thing moving. So Taylor continues to scroll through the followers app, I presume, and now I'm starting to think, if you're wrong about this, because she's spending quite a bit of time going through, and I'm thinking, oh, is Daniel telling the truth? And then eventually Taylor reveals, you know what, Daniel? I believe you. After all of that hubbub, I believe you. Oh, Taylor, honey, this is not good for you. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh boy, this might hurt them moving forward. So it's time now for Honduras. We're leaving the pods and we're going to our vacation spot for this season. No, it's not Mexico. It is Honduras this year. So it's going to be a bit of a short breakdown for some of these couples because I wasn't lying to y'all. They hardly spend any time on their vacation, and I have a funny feeling it's because they genuinely did nothing excitable for television. And isn't that a shame? So our first couple we're going to focus on is Joey and Monica. Both of them have their first dinner together, and guess what, guys? They haven't stopped laughing. Honestly, they are probably, at this point in week 2, my number 1 couple, only because they are very genuine with one another. It's a heartwarming relationship. They are so darn genuine. And they both give off golden retriever energy. Trust me, it just happens. Then Joey starts to get a little deeper into his conversations with Monica and tells her at dinner that he struggled with OCD for a long time. And this is basically the first real conversation that I feel like they've had since the pods, so it takes a little while for them to get there, but don't worry, later on this week, and we'll talk about it, they actually get into deeper conversations. And the last note I have for Joey and Monica is when everyone goes and does their activities, it's all on the water, right? But not Joey and Monica. No, instead, they're doing yoga. And I'm like, okay, that's not bad, but you can do yoga on any of the days that you're there. Instead, you do yoga, and that's your activity. Go on the water, get to the beach, do something fun and invigorating. But they do yoga, and I can't imagine that was easy for Joey. Okay, now let's move on to our next couple here, and that is Ben and Sara. They're probably the least awkward couple next to Joey and Monica. And they're the one couple that will remind you that they are engaged. Trust me, Ben and Sara do not go a minute without telling you that they're engaged. Now, on the boat, they have like a boat date. It's kind of cute. The weather's perfect. But they keep talking about how they're in disbelief. And this is where I was getting a little annoyed with them because, okay, great, you're in disbelief. I can't believe we're married. We really did this. Or engaged. And we really did this. And I'm thinking here, hold on. where I feel like we're missing something. Where's the rest of these conversations going? Because eventually you're gonna have to do it like Demi Moore and have some substance in these conversations. But no, instead they just keep talking about how they're excited. We get it. And then Ben reveals something that gave me the ick. Apparently, he washes his hair once every other week. No, we're not talking once every other day. So like one day you wash, one day you don't, fine. But once every other week is insane. I literally said that out loud and I feel like I need to go and like wash my hair again today. Right now, I'm gonna stop recording. But seriously, you gotta imagine that dandruff is looking bad, man. They must be hiding it for the camera, but I don't even think Sarah is on board with that. That ain't gonna fly. You're gonna share the same bed with somebody who, yeah, I washed my hair like 10 days ago. Oh, heck no. And you can probably get away with dandruff living in, Minnesota because of all the snow, but not everywhere else, bro. Okay, let's move on now to Dave and Lauren. And Dave and Lauren's section is actually really thick, okay, because they begin to, I guess, show some cracks in the foundation here in Honduras. Let's begin. They have a very early conversation when they land in Honduras where Lauren tells Dave that sometimes I'm speaking with you and I'm like, that's Dave. But other times I'm speaking with you and I ask, where's Dave? And then Dave simply says, okay. I'm gonna be honest, I think that offended Dave. But guess what? Lauren is trying to tell you, Dave, that you do seem disconnected. What's going on, buddy? Oh, we will learn what's going on shortly. Lauren then reveals to Dave in a separate conversation that after her bikini wax, the lady told her no working out or hanky-panky. And Dave's face immediately dropped. So in this moment, I'm good at reading body language now, right? Praise God. His body language tells me that he's in it for the physical, not the emotional connection. Uh-oh. So then we transition to a hot tub date, and their conversation seems like it's taken a long time to get started. Y'all remember back in the day when you're gonna cut the grass and you're gonna like pull on the the little starter and it's not starting, it's taking a while, and when it finally does, that's more disappointing than you thought. Yeah, that's exactly what this conversation is. I mean, I gotta imagine Lauren is maybe in her head, so I'm thinking at this point, what's happening off camera that we don't know about? What is it that Lauren's holding back, but also what does Dave know that we don't know as audiences? And you know that's coming. So of course, to make Lauren feel more comfortable, Dave says in a selfie testimonial video that, hey, Lauren pees a lot at night. What in the world? That is the opposite of making her comfortable, man. That makes her probably really insecure and self-conscious. What are we doing here, Dave? What are we doing, okay? Listen, man, I don't like that either. I don't know. Something about that, red flags, right? Or yellow flags. We'll throw the yellow flag up. But Lauren says, you snore a lot. So at least she clapped back a little bit. And Dave is probably like, I don't really snore. Do I? So we leave them for a little bit, but come back, and in a conversation, Lauren tells Dave that it takes a lot for her to physically get attracted to someone. And I think that she's dropping hints that she really isn't into Dave just yet in the physical sense. So Dave doesn't waste a minute to do what he does best this season, which is make it about himself. And he says, and I quote, engaged or not, this is a good process for me. Hold on, homie. When you get engaged, the language changes. It ain't about me, it's about we. It's not about mine, it's ours, okay? It's not I, it's we. And you're saying me here. I'm starting to think Dave isn't in this for the right reasons. Or maybe I'm just overthinking things, I don't know. And then of course we get back to them after a little while and they're going on a date. And Dave asks before this date, are we holding hands? Why not? Man, it feels weird to do this publicly. What? It feels weird to hold your fiance's wife's hand publicly? I don't know, Dave. I don't know. So they get on a boat date, and Dave says in a testimonial interview that they have not had intercourse. Well, their interactions really don't seem comfortable, so what did you expect? But also, just y'all gotta maybe wait for that ring to go on the finger. I don't know. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, Dave, to wait. And then Dave reveals he knows both of Lauren's exes, and here we go. Okay? Yes, that was a reference to the Joker and the Dark Knight, but Dave reveals he knows Lauren's past ex-boyfriends or tings. So this guy Lauren was dating, or this guy that Lauren was dating before the show, apparently Dave knows too, and I'm like, oh. And then Dave just drops, hey, I haven't had a girlfriend for 4 years, and you, Lauren, you're sitting here hooking up with somebody before the show? And then Dave has to add the cherry on top and say, oh, let me bring up something else. You know, Lauren, is it okay that I'm nervous about, the couples meet up and then the past contestants show up, and when I speak to Molly, I'm getting nervous thinking about it. Is that weird? Yes, it's weird because I think you still like Molly. Not great. Well, guys, we will revisit Lauren and Dave soon, but let's get into Devin and Virginia because it's time to just give you some general notes. Well, there's not many notes for Devin and Virginia, but I did notice that Devin has a ton of tattoos, like more than I thought. Mamma mia, this guy is tatted from head to toe. But Virginia asks him in a conversation if you watch cartoons, because I see you got some tattoos of anime and stuff, and he says no, not anymore. But I'm thinking, hold on, you got a whole leg sleeve, and I see anime and cartoon characters, but you don't watch cartoons anymore. That seems like a really weird commitment to make on your leg for a tattoo, and then you abandon it altogether. And just interesting to me. I think he's lying. And then in the same conversation, Virginia makes a face, right? And it's a weird face, but she looks like she doesn't even want to be there. And this goes back to my theory in week 1, where I'm thinking, is Virginia all the way in with Devin? Or does she have some reservations? So Virginia says in a separate testimonial interview that, hey, you know what, I do feel comfortable with Devin, but I'm not going to lie, y'all, for me, it does not look that way. She doesn't look like she's comfortable with Devin, but maybe this is just her. And if it is, hey, we're almost done with week 2's recap at this point, and you know what? Fine, I'll accept it. And then they reveal to each other, outside of the testimonial interviews, that we are comfortable with each other, right? I'm comfortable with you, you're comfortable with me. So maybe it's not a bad thing, and maybe I am reading into it a lot. Okay, so moving on from them, we're going to get now into Daniel and Taylor. And is it weird at this point I'm starting to turn around on Daniel and Taylor, and I'm starting to like them? Now, I will say, if I had $1 for every time they spoke about Christmas, I would be rich at this point, because my goodness, they love Christmas. But they have some interesting interactions in the hotel room. So Daniel goes and he uses the restroom, right? And then when he walks out, Taylor has to remind him to wash his hands. And I'm thinking, Daniel, I know you're excited. You got a million things going on in your head. But personal hygiene, homie. It didn't take the pandemic to teach you to wash your hands after the restroom, I hope. So then we get a hot tub conversation, and I'm going to be honest, their conversation here does lack some substance. So what's in the water in Honduras? Do they not just agree with people who are from Minnesota? So in a selfie video that they take together, because those montages, they reveal that they thumb wrestled until 1 a.m. And you know what? If it was anybody other than Daniel and Taylor, I would think that's an innuendo for something else. But no, honestly, Daniel and Taylor, I can see them thumb wrestling until 1 a.m. And if I had to guess, Taylor won. So, I don't know, what's in the water in Minnesota, guys? What are y'all doing? Finally, a real conversation happens, you guys. And Taylor brings up how she handled the situation earlier in episode 6. And Daniel says, honey, don't feel bad. It is okay. Y'all, that's a really mature response. And it seems like they've come over this. So, gosh, I'm almost ready to say that they're like the number 1 couple this season. We'll see. All right, so now it's time for the couples meetup in Honduras. This happens every season. We get our current engaged couples to meet up in their vacation spot. And I've got some interesting notes. There was a pooping schedule conversation, and I just know Virginia was bothered by this because she was thinking in her head, white nonsense. And if you weren't Virginia, I was thinking it for you, because what in the world are y'all doing talking about schedules for using the restroom? Come on, there's got to be something else you can talk about. But don't worry, Dave to the rescue, because this man is obsessed with asking other contestants, have y'all had time together? What I'm talking about. And Devin says, I think jumping right into sex diminishes everything in the experiment. So, you know what, Devin? Good mindset. But Dave isn't satisfied, so Dave goes to Virginia and says, hey, I spoke to your homie, but you tell me, have you guys had intercourse yet? Is this man okay mentally? What's on his mind? And I think I know what's on his mind. That's not good. So at this point, I'm starting to get tired of Dave, but don't worry. At the end of this recap, you're going to see how tired of him I am. And then Taylor, in a conversation, is defending Lauren after Dave brings up in front of everybody that she pees a lot at night. So why is Dave obsessed with doing this? Is he trying to put her down to a degree? But I'm glad. Taylor's a girl's girl, I guess, because she was like, excuse me, I bet you do things that are also weird. You know what I mean? Or not weird, but you know that other people might find like, okay, they're doing this a lot. So come on, Dave, really? We do find out that Ben writes love notes for Sara at 2 a.m. for her to wake up to, which I think is really sweet. And this is where you get your one good licensed song for this week of episodes. It's All My Life by Casey and JoJo. Such a great song. And for me, I love that song a whole lot. And then in the context of the show, I'm like, okay, it's not diminished. Like the value of the song isn't diminished. It's just really nice. Okay, guys, so now time for the post-couples meetup moments because they're packing up and getting ready to leave Honduras. And I don't have many notes here. I'm serious. I don't. Devin and Virginia. They are so throwed after this couple's meetup, guys. My goodness. They've had a lot to drink. But Virginia says, listen, this trip, though, it has made me more comfortable with the fact that I'm going to be your wife. So I'm sure Devin's like, yes. Yes, thank you, Lord. And then you have Daniel and Taylor says, hey, I'm president of the Overthinkers Club. We're going to save that one in the memory bank because I don't know about that. And then the camera sort of like gives you a wide shot and Daniel has his shoes on in the bed. Again, more white nonsense because what is that? No. And then when it comes to Dave and Lauren, well, Monica asked Dave, well, why Lauren? And he couldn't really answer it. And then he says, well, we can do the things together that we like to do. And then he brings up Molly again. So I'm thinking, all right, you just left the couples meetup. Monica pulls you aside, asks you, Dave, why Lauren? And Dave says, just because we could do things. That's bad. And then Dave brings up again the fact that he will call his sister first when they get home, but without Lauren. And that's not good because then Dave says he's a little scared. David, I'm going to imagine that you need to walk away because you're not ready for an engagement, let alone a marriage. Come on. At this point, Dave is still a little immature in the mind here. But side note, this is exactly where they leave Honduras, and they do spend a very little amount of time in Honduras. I mean, this is probably the least amount of time any engaged couples have spent on vacation in Love is Blind history. Somebody fact check me on that, but for real. Alrighty, y'all, so now we're back to Minneapolis. Is it Minneapolis? My bad. And then, well, we get a really quick transition to the Lachey's. And hey, I wouldn't be mentioning this if it wasn't worth mentioning, because the Lachey's are hardly in this season. They are making them film a stand-up intro to this segment on a rock. And there's like actual water behind them. Did they have divers on standby? That made me nervous. So guys, I don't want to waste any time and I want to get into the meat and potatoes for this section, and it is Dave and Lauren. Okay, so stick with me, guys. Dave reveals when they get back to Minneapolis that people were gossiping about his time in the pods when he gets his phone back, right? He's looking at all the text messages. And then Lauren reveals, yeah, guys, this did happen. At the airport, Dave was flustered and frustrated once he got his phone back. So what's going on, guys, behind the scenes? Well, we will learn very soon. We head to Dave's apartment, and he reveals that he has a lot of One Direction t-shirts. Okay, I didn't take Dave to be such a fan to where he would buy a ton of One Direction t-shirts. I mean, you can like the music, but like to buy a ton of t-shirts? Interesting. Okay, moving on. What happened, though, to his entertainment console is my question, because they do this very petty cutaway to his entertainment console, and it's missing like actual doors and then shelves, and then also it's really dusty. And I'm thinking, Dave, you're taking care of your stuff here? And Lauren reveals to Dave while they're having this conversation that her dad doesn't like the fact that her brothers lived together with their partners before they got married. And Dave takes a little bit of, well, offense in a weird way to that. He's like, what? Well, that's so weird. Why would your dad even think that? I know why, honestly. You should move in with your partner until you get married. That's just me, though. Anyway, Dave reveals in a testimonial interview shortly afterwards that his friends claim that Lauren dated someone and it's not fully over yet. Where in the world did this even come from? Because that is a huge bombshell, and guess what? That is the basis for this week of episodes. It is the nucleus of drama. It is finally what we were hoping for in terms of excitement for season 8. So then we go to Lauren's cycling studio where she works, and Dave is joining her for a class and also to meet Lauren's friends. Dave was struggling to get through this class. I mean, that man wasn't just sweating, he had to physically stop pedaling at one point. And you know what, listen, I can't really blame him too much. Cycling classes are hard, and I've taken some mat Pilates courses in the past, and those are also very hard. So they finish and they all get together, and Lauren says, "No, Dave, it's okay. My friends know a lot about the stuff that we're going through right now." And then Dave is like, "Oh, you mean the stuff about you having dated somebody before the show?" And then Lauren's friend, I think her name is, actually, no, I forgot. I think it was Delaney. But Lauren's friend Delaney to that says, "Who?" So if she's asking who, maybe they don't know as much as you thought they did, Lauren. So Dave reveals that he's still struggling with the stories that his friends are telling him about Lauren, and then what Lauren's friends are telling him. So big yikes, bro. You can't figure out what you want to believe? You should believe your fiance, but that's just me. Lauren's friend Delaney is not buying the fact that Dave has reservations, though. She's kind of calling him out a little bit, and she raises her eyebrows at him, and I think Delaney is sniffing what he's delivering from a mile away. I think Delaney knows. I think Dave is checked out of this. I wouldn't blame her. So again, Dave not trusting his fiance is wild to me. But then Lauren tells Dave, "Okay, I want to talk to your friends now because I believe I need to have a say-so, and I want to set the record straight." Oh boy. So it's getting real messy, and then they cue a musical track, and I quote, it says, "I overthink everything all of the time." These lyrics are so obvious. So then we get, well, what we think was going to be a moment where Lauren meets Dave's friends back at the apartment, but not really. Instead, we get a Dave-Lauren one-on-one conversation in the apartment, and Lauren has clearly been crying, and she's struggling to still figure out how this is impacting them so much. And Dave is over here nonchalant, like, I don't know, I still don't believe you. Lauren does reveal that she flirted with a guy, but then says, "I didn't hook up with the guy the day before or days before the show." But Dave says, I still don't fully believe you yet, Lauren. And then Dave says, "Hey, the guy you were with, from what I've been told, says that you were together 48 hours prior to filming." Okay, if that's true, that's pretty bad. But then it was revealed that Lauren was with this guy for actually a couple of months. Lauren says, "Listen, okay, it might have been a couple of months, but it was a friends with benefits situation." So which is it, Lauren? Did you hook up with him or not? Because you said you didn't, and now you're saying friends with benefits, and I think we all know what that means in this day and age. And then Lauren confuses me further. She says, "Listen, I've never been on dates with this guy," but mentioned right before that she was getting ice cream with him. And then she says, "Hey, we haven't stayed at each other's places before," but then said previously they're friends with benefits. So, Lauren, you're not doing yourself any favors here. But I also gonna put some of the blame here on Dave, because he needs to just figure out, am I going to believe my fiance or not? Because if you believe your friends over your fiance, it's time for you to leave the engagement, because Dave, you do not seem like you're 100% convinced, and it gets worse. Dave says, "Hey, I don't think my friend should come over anymore," and Lauren's upset because now she really can't prove her case. And then Lauren reveals, "Okay, listen, I don't want us to go our separate ways tonight." But Dave says, "I'm thinking we probably should, because I don't feel comfortable being here right now tonight." So Dave is going to instead go meet with his friends and probably gossip some more. So you know what, Dave? I think it's time for you to do what you wanted to do in the reveal. Leave. So we're leaving one red flag situation to a green flag situation with Joey and Monica. It's time to make things seem a little bit more normal for y'all. Joey reveals when they get back home that he usually keeps his AC at 50 degrees. 50 degrees? What is he? That terrifying snowman in those Nestea commercials from back in the day? You know what I'm talking about. Monica's then sharing some funny stories and says, "Haha, Joey, let me tell you about this time I found a spider's nest in the crotch of my jeans." Nope. I'm noping out of that conversation immediately. And then Joey randomly reveals that he thinks feet are kind of nasty. And then the cameras shadily cut to Monica's feet. What is it about feet this season? It feels like in the pods we had like Madison and Meg, and the cameras were oddly focused on that, and now Monica? What's going on? But it's time for Joey to meet Monica's family. And you know what? They have a pretty nice, good-spirited conversation, and Monica's family does seem very wholehearted. And then they have a fam jam moment. I'm not even kidding. It's called Fam Jam, and Monica's super embarrassed, but this is where you bring out random instruments, play it together, and dance, and Joey's like, yeah, we're having fun, while Monica's turning red. But it seemed like all in good fun, and eventually, well, we get Joey seeing their sock bin, and it's literally a communal sock bin. So it's a choice, and it goes back to the feet conversation where Joey thinks, hey, feet are disgusting, but you all share the same socks? Ugh. And then eventually we get Monica's sister Nicole telling Monica that I'm not sold on Joey. And then she follows that up with the fact that she thinks Joey's a really good actor. Uh-oh, this could be bad. Especially for the fact that, well, even though we hardly get Joey and Monica this week, that leads into another conversation where Monica says, listen, my sister's opinion is very important, but she hasn't liked any of my partners in the past. And Joey says, oh, hold on, so this is a pattern? Oh, then maybe your sister's just jealous. Dang, Joey. I didn't know you had it like that. He went from a golden retriever to a canine real quick. And then Monica says, listen, I'm struggling with my sister's disapproval, which to me is not a good sign. So hey, Joey and Monica, they might not be safe after all. Okay, so let's move on to Daniel and Taylor. So Taylor gets to meet Daniel's parents. And you know what? That was nice. They did reveal Daniel's old photos on the wall, like these old photo shoots from a kid, and let me tell y'all, this was wild. Taylor was really sweet with Daniel's sister, who is blind. It was such a tender moment, and they have another tender moment with his sister later on. It felt very genuine. And then Taylor reveals, okay, this was nice, but, you know, my family's not really on board with this yet. That's not good. That's really not good, but Daniel's parents follow that up with the fact that, like, yo, we approve without reservation. Not like Daniel's parents, they seem so sweet. So of course, Daniel's now got to go and meet Taylor's parents. And it, you know what? This was also a really nice moment. Now, I will say, Daniel gave Taylor's mom flowers, but kept it in that plastic wrapping you see at, like, Publix. Homie, no, you gotta cut that up, de-thorn the flowers, de-leave them too, and then use floral wrapping paper and then get some raffia and tie it up. Come on, dog. Come on. Flower giving 101. Taylor says in a testimonial interview, let me follow up my comments about my parents not being on board. No, my dad is on board, but my mom isn't. So in the conversation where Daniel is explaining to Taylor's parents that I love your daughter, I want nothing but to make her feel safe, comfortable, and loved for the rest of her life, Daniel's handling this very maturely because he's not dominating the conversation, leaving room, of course, still for Taylor's parents to chime in, but he's standing on business for his fiancée. And I like that. But Taylor's mom does tell her daughter, hey, I feel left out of this process. I did not even know you were engaged, and that's a priceless moment. But Taylor tells her parents, come on, I've never felt more safe and loved than with Daniel. And then Taylor's dad starts tearing up, and I'm like, oh, don't cry. It'll make me cry. And then in a surprising turn of events, Daniel's parents make a surprise visit to Taylor's house. And I told myself, this is very different. I wish we had actually more of this in Love is Blind history. But they have a great conversation. They ease things over, and it feels super mature. And at this point, I'm thinking, if Taylor and Daniel do not get married, why? Because at this rate, they are my #1 couple. And also, I know Taylor's mom's going to be upset too. But there were so many conversations they had together in this instance where it evoked a sense of emotion out of me, and I was having a tear-jerking moment myself. Dang, y'all. Did not expect that in week 2. But Taylor's parents eventually give Daniel their blessing, and then Taylor's dad starts crying, and then we start crying. Alrighty, you guys, so we're almost done. We got 2 more couples left. Let's start here with Devin and Virginia. So we go to Devin's apartment, and this man has Foot Locker in his bedroom because, mamma mia, this man's got a lot of sneakers. Listen, you think you have a lot of sneakers, and then you see Devin's apartment, and that man has spent thousands of dollars on sneakers. Ay, my goodness. All right, that's all we have in Devin's apartment, literally. Let's go to Virginia's townhouse. Important distinction here. It's very nice. I mean, it is beautifully decorated. She does a great job. It looks minimal to a degree, but it's still in a good way busy, and I like it. They do talk finances, though, so we're getting into some nitty-gritty with them. And Virginia reveals, I want a prenup. And Devin is like, prenup? I don't know her. What is this? So Devin doesn't seem sold on it, but I have a funny feeling he will eventually have to agree if he wants to marry Virginia. So let's move on to Virginia meeting Devin's parents. Now the mom, Devin's mom, talks about how important it is for Devin and his partner to be equally yoked. And I'm like, come on, somebody. I love that, because it's true. And then they get into the kids conversation, and Devin reveals that I want 2 to 5 kids, and Devin's mom's face was hilarious because I guess that was a surprise to her. And then Virginia follows it up with, actually, I want 2 to 6 kids. I'm starting to think, oh my gosh, that's a lot. So they bring up finances, and well, the prenup was also brought into the conversation, and Devin's brother, if I'm not mistaken, he made a face and it was hilarious. But Devin's family eventually gives them their support, but the sister says off camera, I'm still a little nervous about the prenup. But now it's time to talk about a couple who might not even get to the prenup stage, and that's Ben and Sara. Trust me, that comment will make sense soon. So Sara meets Ben's friends. Sounds like a really cool nonprofit. So Sara was asked if she would go to a church service with Ben, and she said, yeah, I'm spiritual. Anyway, she did say she would try it though. So, once you hear the word, of course, it's a seed planted in their mind, right? So, if, we'll let the Holy Spirit water that. But, yeah, it was interesting. And I guess they're sort of cute together, you know what I mean? Up until this next moment. So Sara's on the couch, Ben is making a drink or whatever, and then Sara looks at her phone and says, oh my gosh. And I'm like, girl, what? Stop, just tell us. Well, Sara confronts Ben about a TikTok that apparently was made all about Ben, and Ben confirms, yes, it was about me. In this TikTok, Sara says this girl is crying and talking about Ben being a bad person, but Ben says, yo, I haven't spoken to her in more than 4 years. So Ben is like, yo, she's overreacting. Don't worry, tranquilo. Come on, calm down, Sara. Remember, we're so happy. And Sara's like, hold on, tell me more. So Ben reveals they met on Tinder and they never hooked up, but they were talking for a short amount of time, and he can't remember what happened in that short amount of time. Oh boy. I wonder if Ben's an artist, because that was sketchy. I don't know, y'all. That ain't great. So Sara says, listen, I don't believe you fully, because I'm not willing to just discredit her point of view. And I'm thinking, oh, dang, Sara. Guess you're not wrong for doing that, though. Ben says he wouldn't be surprised if there was a DM between them afterward. And Sara says, what? So Ben is like, oh my gosh, let me save this. Is there anything I can do to help you in this situation? And Sara says, nothing would help this situation. No, you gotta let it be. I'm gonna trust you, she says. But if it comes out that you lied, this is over quicker than a New York minute. Or a Minnesota minute. Wait, no, that might take too long. But let me tell you guys, I think they're in trouble. There's trouble in paradise for them. I mean, goodness gracious, this is not good. So what do they do at the end of this moment? Cliffhanger ending. And it was a pretty good one, too. Of course, the music was, again, very obvious. And the lyrics were, is it something more? Or is it a hookup? I promise you that was the lyric. And I'm thinking, be so for real, producers, because what is this? Anyway, it didn't detract from the moment. Instead, it sort of just added to the zaniness of it all. And that's where we end. Week 2 of Love is Blind, episodes 7 through 9. Finally, we get drama, excitement, tender moments, tear-jerking moments, and talks about prenups with each other. I mean, listen, I don't know if Devin and Virginia are going to last, but y'all need to let me know if you think they will and your thoughts of week 2 in the comments. And go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on my recap and review for next week. So hit that bell, because you're going to want to get those notifications, right? The noties, is that what the kids call them? So I'm super excited to dive into the rest of the season, because now I think we got a lot of things to focus in on. Of course, Dave and Lauren, Ben and Sara, and that's about it. I mean, maybe Joey and Monica, because Monica's sister Nicole is not sold. That almost rhymed. Alrighty, y'all. Well, I'm going to go ahead and watch the next set of episodes, so I'll get prepped for next week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. I appreciate your support. We're so close to 30,000, and we can't get there without your help. So I appreciate y'all watching again. God bless you guys, and I'll catch you at the next screening. Seriously though, producers, thanks for listening.